into. We're going to do a little bit of this UFOs all over the world.
Now, when you look at the processed images, you never see
UFOs all over the world.
all that noise, all the result that's usually been cleaned up in the processing. And I think I've got another one there that shows this one shows the some of the images, how they look after they've been corrected for the bit error or transmission errors. Now, the transmission errors that creep into the whole system, just by the fact that this is information that's transmitted over very large distances with equipment that is subject to noise. You also find that, I'll have to read this out, so just excuse me a moment, I just want to get this correct. Okay, the communications link between the Viking orbiter spacecraft and the receiving stations on Earth did not use error correcting encoding, and random errors found their way into the data stream as bit errors. If these transmission errors were in the high bits, they resulted in bright or dark pixels. Now, they're quite noticeable in the previous image that we had a look at. If they were in the low bits, the resulting incorrect picture elements were not so easy to detect. And it is easy to pick out in those images where you have the prominent bit error noise, because you see those dark and bright pixels, but that's not all the noise there is in those images. And so we have a lot of the other noise that's really not apparent because it doesn't stand out. It's not different or that different in contrast to the image itself. Now, these errors were corrected for by replacing any value that differed from its neighbours by more than a specified value with the average of its nearest neighbours. This is how they've actually smoothed the image to remove that noise. And we see the result of that here. They also used a similar sort of process to remove the result, although if you look carefully, you might just be able to see a slightly darker, grayer area where the result was in the original image. Now, one of the most important things to realise from this is just it's almost impossible to tell just how much noise was originally in the images. But chances are it was fairly high. So when we're talking about very fine detail, we have no way of knowing whether or not the data that is in the image that we're looking at is just something that the computer has put in as a result of its own error correcting algorithm, or whether it's something that's actual, a feature that is actually there on the planet, and information that is true, so to speak. Can I just have the next one? Oh, that's edition. Okay, I thought I had another one, but obviously I've taken that one out. Now, some of the original Cydonia image work was done by computer technicians who were contracted to JPL. DPH on Molinar, and they wrote, or a book has been written about their work and so on, and they actually invented all these processes for trying to look more closely, specifically at the space on Mars and the Cydonia region. Their original work was done on the original NASA tape, But the nanopacks were never originally designed for the sort of processing, image processing that we do today in our computers. They were meant to be analysed in hard copy print rather than having analysis done directly on the electronic data. This is something that seems to have escaped an awful lot of the researchers. When they have used the electronic data, they've actually had to modify it for use in modern computer image processing packages. So we've got a whole host of errors and processing artifacts creeping into our work as we go. The original electronic enlargements that they took of the face were full of transmission errors, lacked contrast, and had poor resolution. And this is one of the most important points, because I've often heard people quote that they've been able to, or they've talked about features that they've seen in these images that are actually smaller than the resolution of the original cameras. Now, it completely escapes me how you can talk about having teeth in the face that are smaller than the resolution of the original image. You just can't get down to that sort of detail. They actually developed a whole new technique that they called SIT to enhance their images. They increased the resolution 9-fold, meaning they zoomed in on the images 9-fold before they actually started to play around with it. They stretched the grayscales of the image because Mars actually is quite a low contrast planet. It doesn't have much darker than the Earth, so it's much further away from the Sun, and it doesn't have a high contrast surface such as the Earth has. So the images from Mars don't have to be conveyed to us within the full range of what we would normally consider grayscale from 1 to 255. Most of the information that we need can be conveyed in 80 grayscale or so. But what they actually did, they had to stretch the grayscale of the image so they could enhance the contrast and hopefully bring up some finer detail. The original interpolation grayscale, the program interpolated the grayscale levels between adjacent pixels of the original image and rendered sharper edge definition. This produced a much cleaner image with better contrast, but was achieved at the expense of smoothing and massaging the data. So we've already had them increase the resolution 9-fold, which means that they trick themselves into thinking they can see information at much smaller resolution than the original camera, which was a big mistake. As far as I've been able to tell, any subsequent image work has been done on the massaged images from Dispietro and Molinar, including the work done by Mark Carlotto. And there's been a lot of discussion on the internet about Mark Carlotto's work, and I'm not going to get into a discussion on his work here today, because I don't think it's really relevant to the lessons that we can learn from all of this. But some of the interesting things that people tried to do with Cydonia data was by running it through fractal analysis, so they converted it to fractal image. I don't know if any of you understand about what a fractal is. Hands up if anybody knows. Well, we've got a few people. For those that don't know, basically, if you've seen images of the Mandelbrot set, is everybody familiar with the Mandelbrot set? Well, that's a fractal. And it's a mathematical sort of pattern that makes all very closely allied with chaos theory. But what they believe is that you take an image and you convert it into a fractal, that you will actually be able to pick up patterns that reflects the way nature actually works. Well, I think personally this is highly spurious, but all you're doing is introducing more noise into your data. But anyway, a lot of people have done this and they use this fractal analysis on the images, and then they use that as part of their, increasing the resolution of the images. Now, I don't believe that there's anything wrong with doing this if you just want to make better looking images. In fact, I have often used fractal imager myself to increase resolution in images. But it will give you a low resolution image and sort of it effectively joins the dots in your picture and makes the whole thing look smoother. But in doing so, it has generated information. It has interpolated what it thinks could be between the dots. And so you'll get something that looks like it's got lots of detail in it, but it's all pure invention. And you can't really use that sort of thing for doing proper scientific work. It makes images look very pretty, but there's no scientific value in it whatsoever. I do this myself at work. And much of the fine detail that is apparent in these images was never there in the originals. It has been introduced as a result of image processing. It should come as no surprise if a lot of this information then appears artificial, because that's precisely what it is. It's artificially generated in the computer. This explains, I think, one of the big differences between the reactions that you have with people such as Richard Hoagland's team and the people who are far more cautious working at JPL. They looked at the face and said, well, this is really interesting, but, we'll wait for high resolution images. While Richard Hoagland and his team got stuck in and processed away and started to see all sorts of detail in images, started measuring angles and talking about angles far more accurately measured than could ever possibly have been done on the original images, and making all sorts of pronouncements about artificiality. Just can't do that. It's just, why not? Because the information was never there in the original images. You've interpolated it, you've invented it yourself. You've made up your own evidence. I'm sorry, what do you mean? That the Mars global surveyor image was made up? Well, it appears to be on the surface, certainly. Talking with other students of the United Nations, just put that down. I think maybe with respect to your 2050 students and research, I think that true visualization is what they're telling you. You don't believe that you can interpolate data? We all know that computer technology, we all have that, like this stuff very images. It's done every day, yes. We're talking about mathematics. Yes. Yes. Related to monuments that not only but also yes, but then when you start talking, you're starting to talk about this topography business and angles and things. Now, the angles that they measured on the Mars features were not measured from the original Viking images. They were measured from this process up, with zoomed in and subject to fractal analysis and all sorts of bits and pieces that entered into the data that was never there originally. And so when you're looking at the angles of these things, you can't measure those angles as accurately as they maintain, because the resolution was never there in the original image. So, because the original image had a particular resolution, and they're talking in terms that couldn't be connected with the original. Well, I've shown you the pictures that show. How do you know that real from what the real is? Very few scientists back up what Richard Hoagland has to say. And I know he has a lot of people that he claims support his arguments, but most of them are talking outside the topic of expertise. And you find that, if you go to JPL and ask anybody there, they won't back up what Richard Hoagland is saying about the images. I mean, these are people that are really trained to look at planetary images. They're trained in the interpretation of this data. They know the limitations of the equipment. They're not playing around with images that have been fudged and massaged and smoothed and, beyond almost all recognition as the original. And the mistake overlooked by a lot of people like Sandy McDaniel, for example, who might be fine when he's talking about velocity. But when he starts talking about the likelihood of certain things, being artificial or natural, he's really talking outside of his field of expertise. And yes.
Sorry if I'm speaking to Mickey there, but there's no issue probably in technology.
Yes.
But looking at the original shot and over at the research and the and they will remove
The processing.
what were they replaced with?
They were replaced with the computer's interpolation between the grayscale. So what it basically did was it said anything that's above or below a particular grayscale value, ignore that and replace it with this value.
Okay, so the computer assumed yes what that was and replaced it.
That's right. But really it's a hole in the data, and we're just taking the best guess as to what's there.
So isn't that the same thing that you were saying, that it's been replaced by something that's not really there, it's just a computer guess?
Yes. But then you can't actually make a lot of these statements that have been made based on this information, given the amount of noise that was in the original images. But they're not necessarily 90 degrees. And this is the point that I'm making, that you couldn't make those sorts of measurements on the original data because the resolution wasn't high enough. All of that has been done on these images that have been processed beyond all recognition. So really, you're talking about, measurements. There should be enormous error bars on all those measurements. And when you look at the data that they put up, there's never an error bar on it. I mean, they can't even determine whether they're talking about 19.5 or 19.47 degrees. Now, yet they place all sorts of cosmic significance on this. Now, I don't know of a cosmically significant number that would have such a large margin of error built into it. It's really nonsense. Yes. I don't know that anybody actually has, and I certainly haven't done this myself. But I think if we had a good look, we might put back that original image, if we could, just put up the original, the high resolution one, so that was the darker grey one. 070, no, no, not that one, sorry, the original Viking one, the 07813, I think it is. This was the highest resolution image. No, sorry. It's the big picture where Tasmania, of the whole region, and the face is just this tiny little thing in it. No, sorry, I'll more cooking. It's that stuff going on. Oh no, that's another one. Shows the big picture. That's it. However, thank you. Okay, so we have a look at this again. This was the high resolution Viking image taken of the region. And this had a resolution of 43 meters. So the camera didn't actually record any data that was, or anything on the surface that was smaller than 43 meters across. The latest image, the Mars Global Surveyor one, the MGS one, has a resolution of 4.3 meters. So we basically now have the opportunity to look at this thing with 10 times magnification on this. But taking this image, blowing it up 10 times doesn't give you anywhere near the same sort of resolution that we get in this particular image. And I think that that's quite clear when we see the best, or compare the best image that anybody's been able to get of the face, taken from the global, from the Viking things, and all you ever see is just very large sort of blobby pits. There's no fine detail there at all. Whereas in the global surveyor one, you can see when you look at the eye socket area here, you can see that there's no actual colouring there, and actually is a crater. We can see what appears to be hydrothermal vents in the nose, but you can see that the nose isn't in the centre of the face. Centre of the face is, probably shouldn't do that. The centre of the face runs down here, but there's not that bilateral symmetry that they talked about. You can't actually see symmetry in the facial features at all. There's no symmetry between the size of the face and the mouth. The nose is actually over to one side of the face, it's not in the centre. And there's no real eye socket at all on the other side of the face. So that symmetry that they maintained was, absolute proof of the artificiality of this thing. When we see the high resolution image, it's just not there. That symmetry just disappears. Now, one of the important points that I want to make about all of this is that these same people are using exactly the same techniques again to look at what they call lunar anomalies. And they've basically given up on Mars now because they've realised that all the things they've been saying for the last 10 or 15 years are actually wrong. So they've turned their attention to the moon, and they're going through exactly the same processes with lunar images, and I've seen pictures put up on websites and so on by Richard Hoagland and some of the other researchers associated with him, where they've taken images, Clementine images and lunar orbiter images, and they've blown them way out of proportion, and they're talking about being able to see structure in objects that are only 1 or 2 pixels across. Now, you can't see structure in pixels, but that's what I'm trying to do, yes. So it was very important to the height of the altar, and sometimes you can get down to some of the more recent images taken with clementine. You actually have some quite high resolution images. Off the top of my head, I can't really remember exactly what the resolution is, but it's really quite high, probably less than 10 meters. We've done the earlier Apollo images course, which is where they're doing a lot of their work. They're doing on the Apollo orbiter images. Now, this is once again, they're taking it from the old Beacon camera data. They're not using the latest clementine data, which is specifically, the information is already in a format that's readily accessible for our model-based computer processing. So they really haven't learned the lessons. They're going back to the old data. Sometimes they're even doing it by scanning in hard copy images. So they take a flathead scanner and then get a national photo and then scan it in at 200, DPI, which is what your average commercial scanner will scan at. And then they boost it up there in program like Photoshop, and everything else is pure interpolation. And yet, there's a whole host of analysis supposedly being done on these images, and the internet is for this stuff. Literally for it, and all sorts of weird and wonderful claims being made about it. We've had claims about there being glass domes on the moon and buildings, and I've even heard of one guy who maintains that he's able to see graffiti on crater walls. Now, these people take all of this seriously, and they look at these images and, I'm seeing their images, they usually convert things to JPEG, so there's all sorts of artifacts, JPEG artifacts, because they're using a high compression image type, and a whole host of information is lost. And there's all sorts of claims being made based on this sort of supposed research. And no scientist worth his salt would be caught dead doing that sort of stuff.
People say technology was fine,
Yes, but they're designed for a different purpose. And the other thing with the spies, I had this put to me before, that with the spy satellites, that supposedly can read a newspaper or read your car number plate from orbit and all that sort of stuff. Well, I don't quite know that I believe all of that, but I know that it has been used fractal analysis to look for, tanks in the desert sands of Iraq and so on. And I've had that thrown up to me, so well, if you can use fractal analysis to identify tanks in Iraq, why can't you use fractal analysis to identify artificial structures on Mars? And the simple reason is that you know what a tank looks like to begin with, and so you can put in a pattern for a tank and say, this is the fractal pattern for a tank. Go look for this particular mathematical pattern in the data. And when you find it, then we found our tanks. But we don't know what anything on Mars or the Moon actually looks like. We can't input a data pattern and say, look for this pattern in the data. So that's a completely serious sort of argument. And the spy satellite technology is not what NASA uses for their kind of things. Although the Clementine wasn't a big satellite, but its images are freely available now. Anybody that wishes to can get hold of the Clementine data. It's available over the internet. I think you can buy it on CD or something now. I think they wanted to get more data about it. The moon has an extremely physical value. It has an extremely high statistical value. And, they want to map the surface of the moon as accurately as possible. And believe it or not, even with all the missions that we have sent to the moon, we haven't completely mapped the surface of the moon. And there are still areas that are subject to, great holes still in our map of the moon, such that amateur astronomers can still be used to fill in the data. So, well, on the far side of the moon, obviously we've had, every time an orbit has been there, it's been as much around the dark or the far side as it has the near side. But well, we really needed to get a better look, because the technique that we now have technology to be able to hold that data and storage, but before we couldn't necessarily transmit the images that's on the other side. But now, of course, we have much improved technology on all of that, so we can store that data and transmit it when it comes back. But I can't see why the military wouldn't want to image the moon. I think that would make normal sense. Why? Well, you can put that in terms of an SDI sort of installation. The moon would be a very useful place to have an SDI base. It's also extremely valuable for communication, and there would be quite a few other research values to the moon. But I don't believe that the military would necessarily be more interested in more esoteric research things. But then a whole host of other technologies usually spin off from space-related technologies and developments. Now we're going to I won't spend too much longer on this, but I would like to talk about some of the things that the lessons that we can extract from all of this and related to work that we can do on images with UFO photos. But I know You know, you're deceiving yourself. And I think that this is something that we as UFO researchers really have to be very careful of. That so often we hear people say they're so convinced that we're being visited by ET that, you know, they ignore any evidence that suggests otherwise. And we've probably all heard of all the conspiracy theories that have been around. And, you know, one of the most prominent earlier this year was the supposed conspiracy within NASA. Although I don't know how you could get all those scientists to be involved in anything like that. But the scientists that I know would never commit to anything like that. You just couldn't get them to do that. There's also a lesson, I think, in consulting with and listening to those people who are in a position to make educated identifications of things. And I'd just like to finish up with what I finished up with here in my paper, and that is that just a little word about that video program, UFOs, Best Evidence Ever Caught on Tape. There was an awful lot of video footage included in that showed nothing more than lights in the sky. In particular, I noticed the Mexican video taken at the time of the solar eclipse. That was back in 1991, I think it was. I hadn't actually seen these videos until that program was shown on TV a couple of weeks ago. And the first thing that I noticed when it came to those eclipse videos was that they showed the sun, and then they panned across to this bright object in the sky nearby the sun. Now to me it was immediately apparent that it was Venus. No question in my mind whatsoever. And yes, you know, they don't seem to have even consulted with an astronomer as to what this object was likely to have been. Yes.
Does it mean that stuff between the helicopters?
No, I'm not saying that was, but certainly, yes, but, and over a large area. Now, the fact that certainly the object that they concentrated on most in that particular video sequence was definitely Venus. Now, this was sitting over an area of cities as wide as 18 miles, I think they said, or 80 kilometres. I mean, that's a pretty broad area. This object had to be extremely high up. And so high up it was Venus. It was millions of kilometres away. So that's not the same object. That was a different video. Yes. Yes. No. Yes, and this is one of the really sad things that this stuff is frequently being touted around as, well, one being touted as the best evidence ever caught on tape. Now, there's much better evidence around, and it scares me that the people that put this thing together, and obviously the researchers that have been collecting this stuff, never bothered to consult with an astronomer about a light in the sky. And I know that this doesn't always happen, but it happens often enough. Yes, Martin? Yes, but it was still in that video, and that does worry me, because obviously there are a lot of people that either don't see whether or not it's Venus, or they never bothered to research it properly. Anyway, as I said, I really do think that is one of the scariest aspects of that. And I would hope that we do draw a few lessons from this that we can apply to UFO research, and particularly to photographic and video analysis, because there are definitely lessons to be learned there as regards to trying to get more information out of an image than is really there. So thanks. But, Dalton, I'll take a few questions if you've got some. Yes.
I just recently read one by Carl Sagan.
Yes.
Published it in Medium. Yes, you know. I recently read a book by Carl Sagan where he published in 88, where he debunks the paranormal and also UFOs. And then he changed his attitude just before he died, and he was an astronomer. What is your attitude?
Well, I'm certainly not a debunker. I am skeptical. I'm proud to call myself skeptical because I think that you need to be skeptical. If you're not skeptical of things that people tell you or evidence that's put up in front of you, then you're not a researcher. You've got to question things. And I mean, let's face it, there are an awful lot of hoaxes out there. So unless you're prepared to be skeptical, you might as well give up doing research. And you can't just accept every report of a light in the sky as being a UFO. And I think that I can't speak for Carl Sagan, but certainly as far as I'm aware, he never actually changed his mind. He was always very skeptical, but within the realms of good taste, I would say, unlike somebody like Philip Clark, for example, who I think is purely a debunker. But I certainly had the greatest respect for Carl Sagan. He was always an inspiration to me. And he never doubted for a moment that there was life out there. He just doubted whether it was existing up. And I think that, that's a sensible sort of approach to take. And he was actually quite a moderate voice by comparison to a lot of other people. But from my own perspective, I have seen things that I can't explain. I've experienced things that I can't explain. So I definitely don't doubt that there is a phenomenon that works. I don't necessarily think it's extraterrestrial. would certainly love to see evidence that convinces me that it is. But that's certainly not my feeling at the moment. But I certainly think that there is a phenomenon at work here, and that's my answer to it now. Yes. Exactly. Yes. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't sort of speak on that, but from my own sort of observations of the whole thing, I've had an interesting discussion with my director through the week. We've been running a program in our planetarium on the planet Mars, and we picked a lot of images. Some of them are Viking images, and more recently we've been using some of the latest global surveyor images. And he made an interesting comment to me through the week. He said, "Oh, you noticed that in that image of the sand dunes Mars, that there's a figure of a seated man with a beard?" And I said, "What?" And he said, no, I'm serious. You have a look at that image that we use of the sand dunes, and you can see the figure of a seated man in it. I said, "You're not going to tell me now that you think you can see this gigantic sculpture hundreds of kilometres across." And he said, no, I'm not saying that it's a sculpture, but you actually had a look at this particular image, and yes, once it was pointed out to me, I could then see this shape. And I think that this is something that human beings do very well. There was recently an interesting program on quantum on the face, and the first program there talked a lot about how we recognise faces. And I think that probably has a lot of pertinence to our identification of the neighbour on Mars as a face. Because it talks about recognising people on the basis of 3 points. When we look at a face, we make the decision as to whether or not we recognise it as a face just based on 3 points. And I think that's probably the situation with the face on Mars. The human ability to recognise the familiar in the unfamiliar is really very ingrained, and it's how we operate and navigate around the world. So we shouldn't be surprised that we see all these sort of things in geological formations. And in the moon too, yes. Okay, I think we'll have to end there. I'm sorry. All right. Right, John Ockerhill, as I was saying, is our next speaker. Could everyone take their seats, please, because we need to really move this afternoon. We're very, very much over time. Stand on a cigarette, put the coffee out, do whatever you want, but get back here, please, now. What's PRA?
Phenomenal Research Research.
Is everyone ready to rock and roll? Good.
I don't need that. That's the technical for the audience. Okay, well, it was very kind, pardon me, for Brian to invite me over to your conference, or his conference and his committee's conference. I was here last year, but this year I thought I'd better come over because my conscience is pricking me, and I've had to work as an individual on the UFO phenomenon. And we, back in 1950, set up a society, and this magazine in the middle 50s right through today is a quarterly magazine, and it goes to over 30 countries in America, and we certainly have a lot of information to give them, and they in turn better send it back to us. Now, I must totally apologise for my voice. The reason why I flew over this morning and flying back this evening is because we've had a fantastic UFO incident in South Australia, and it all is very, very similar to the Millennium effect, which took place on the 21st of October 78 over Bass Strait. This pilot was flying his plane over on board, and all of a sudden the craft came towards him, and there were 5 of them, and they went straight for him. They had a black front and about the size of a small car, and a big orange ball of light behind, and they were in 20 to 30 meters of his plane, and he had to take evasive action to get away from them, and it disturbed him to such an extent, even though he is a bus driver and takes people to the snow and takes people to the football matches in Adelaide and Melbourne. He's a solid type citizen, but he's in a heck of a mess, and that's why I'm going home, because he's read the Millennium report on the Department of Air back in those days. But first of all, mainly why I've come today to talk to you is because back in 1942, while I was a member of air crew, I had an encounter with a UFO, and it was a round ball. I couldn't discern its height, but it was about that big to look at, and in fact, it came right over the top of me, stopped, moved from side to side, and then went on its way. I wasn't over impressed because I'm a 21-and-a-half-year-old chap, and I was lying on my tummy in a bomber to teach people how to drop bombs, and we actually tried to. So I was enjoying life fully. But 50 years later, in 1992, I was rushed to hospital. And when I came out in the morning after x-rays and so forth and CAT scans, they in fact were terribly concerned at the scar that was on my brain. And that scar, they can't work it out at all. It was very solid and it clear. So I let things go, and they suggested to people that that I get a copy of the x-rays plus the doctor's report. And the big blunt no, you can't have it. And it turned out that the Freedom of Information Act had got it for me. It's now under lock and key, and it will be used. And it's important that I tell you people this, because since my starting of the organisation in 1952, contrary to my colleagues and friends, I have never had any objection. There's no cover-up from the RAF. They helped me and assisted me since '61, and they still do. Free openness. The Bureau of Meteorology also helped, and they're the ones that got the pilot to call me along with the police. The police in Adelaide totally look after me, and they in fact had me go into their office and talk for 2.5 hours, show them slides, and so that they can help me. And again with the Air Force, and I've spoken at length with Wing Commander Llewellyn and Canberra, and I can assure you that the only cover-up that I have experienced with the UFO thing is us. And it happened in this respect, that in 1938, well, said in New York that we were invaded by Martians, and people went berserk. They drove their cars and everything. In South Australia, they're equally as dumb because we had to get the Premier to leave his office, go down to Glenelg and wave his arms and push the waves back because somebody had a moral attitude to Adelaide. And so that's the limit of, and the closed minds and the stupidity of we people, and I love we people, but what our attitude to the UFOs. The sightings are terrific, and I'll give a couple of them to you here in a moment. But let me firstly say that in 1968, a man came to Adelaide. He absolutely confounded the fraud squad. They won't have anything to do with him. He gave me a lot of information, particularly about the MFP, the multifunctional pulse, to go to Queensland. And I said, no, it won't go there. It'll come to Adelaide immediately. Well, within a fortnight it did. And therefore, that was all messed up in the sense of the Labor and the Liberals having punch-ups. So who's paying for this? And they had to stop. One of the executives went back to America, a great amount of money he got, and the Dr. Hammond went to Adelaide University, and therefore they have now formed what they call the MFP Multifunctional Corporation, and with that they are going fine. And we had sightings there in 1980, an abduction and so forth in this very area, just west of Adelaide, which is supposed to be the multifunctional palace. And again, in 1975, a craft landed, and the people that it caught ran the media and ran the Air Force, and the Air Force were a bit slow. They sent out helicopters a bit late, and so the thing went away. So the UFOs is quite too open to anybody. Now, we've had what was I going to say to you? The investigations right across Adelaide and South Australia, and also the damage to the various crops and landings and paddocks, and people watching the craft and waving to them and having them come right over their home and so forth. With
Well, hey there, Just Jenna. I got a bad cord here. How you doing? Good to see you. I got a bad cord I got to change out. But in the meantime, I'm listening to this Scottish drunk. Sounds drunk. I don't know. I'm trying to understand the guy. I don't know what's going on with him, but he sounds like he don't sound really good. In the meantime, this cord's no good. What's going on with you? Hey, did you see my puppies? I got seven puppies. Just John. Got 7 puppies. But I'm gonna find a home for all of them. I think I'm gonna keep one, the boy, and then everybody else. But I've been doing a puppy live stream. This day number 3 of the puppies. And then anyway, yeah, 7 puppies, Just Jenna. That's right, Roswell's to you. I haven't seen Star Brother Paulo or anybody else. But anyway, it's good to see you. I'll try to get something together, but I'm gonna change this cord out, and try to get some quality entertainment for the night while I'm doing laundry. Let's see. Other than that, how you been doing? I mean, how's the weather? over there in England. Are you doing okay? Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better? And then King Charles. King Charles, he's going to take it easy. And then that Harry fella, I think he got kicked to the curb because that bearded clam got a hold of him. That's exactly what happened. You know what I'm saying? He got a taste of that stuff. And he's like, man, I don't want that royal crown. I don't want that royal. Raining? Oh my gosh, how much rain are you getting? Hey, how much rain are you getting, Just Jenna? Hey, how much rain? How much rain?